Anyway, I wanted to do protein crystallography. They were not doing it at Caltech. Corey said, you got to go somewhere else for grad school. I applied at UCSD and Harvard. And I went down to UCSD to interview. There was a man there named Joe Kraut. And when I came to his office, I found a surfboard leaning against the wall outside the door of his office. And I immediately knew that that was not for me. I was not going to go to San Diego. I got in at Harvard. I went to the lab of William Lipscomb, who was working on an enzyme called carboxypeptidase A. So I joined that group. They were already somewhere along, they had the prep and they were collecting data. I got involved in the computer programming for that, again first with the IBM 7094, the same as Caltech had, and later the IBM 360 came in. The code I wrote there was shared with other labs. Anybody who had an IBM at their university typically got stuff from us, although most of the big places had craze in those days. One of the students that was in the group was Tom Stites, who went on to a career at Yale and is famous for his work on ribosomes. But anyway, and one of the important things that happened there, of course, was that I met Gail, my wife, at a party that was given when another student in the lab finished his degree, and that student happened to be in Harvard Square inviting a friend of his who happened to be the woman that my wife had spent a year with in Italy. So since Gail was there sitting at that table, they had to invite her, and she came, and I met her. And we got together for over a couple of years, actually. We decided we wanted to get married, but my mother said, you got to get your degree first. So we were married 3 days after I graduated. I spent then a year as a postdoc at Harvard. What I did not know at the time was that a gentleman from Rockefeller, Gerald Edelman, who was just finishing up his work on the amino acid sequence of an immunoglobulin molecule, and his desire was to have the three-dimensional structure done by crystallography. And he went up to talk to Lipscomb, who was an expert in the field, and to get some advice who to hire, and Lipscomb recommended me without telling me. So I heard from Edelman, and he invited me down. I gave some lectures to his students, and I was hired here as an assistant professor in 1970. Just before that, Gail wanted me to come to Italy, where she had spent a year getting a master's on a Fulbright, and I wanted to go to Germany and go to a Wagner opera at Bayreuth. So we combined those two things. That was my first trip to Europe. In those days, you could get tickets to Bayreuth in 6 months, and now it takes 10 years, I'm told. But anyway, we had a great time. But in Florence, I tripped on a stone on the Piazzale Michelangelo and had a sprained ankle. Went home in a cast, and that was great because we were moving to New York, and I didn't have to actually pick up anything. I just pointed with my crutch and move that box over there, and so forth. So anyway, that's how we came to Rockefeller.